How's it going, guys? I'm Brandon, and today we're going to be talking about this book, The Lost Teachings of the Cathars. This isn't a book review, but everything that I'm going to be talking about today comes from within this book. I'll be talking about the teachings, the theology, the beliefs of the Cathars. The Cathars were a society of Christians who lived in the Middle Ages between France and Italy. They had very different beliefs about the soul, about the Roman Catholic Church, and they were actually persecuted by the Roman Catholic Church. This book talks specifically about 4 different events where the Cathars were persecuted. The first one being the butchering of 1209, where 15,000 Cathar Christians were slaughtered by the Roman Catholic Church. Afterwards, all of the timber buildings were burnt down, and because the Roman Catholic Church had no way to differentiate the Christians from the Cathars, the guy leading the crusade said, "Kill them all, and God will know his own." So, really brutal, that one. The second major event was the besieging of 1210, where 650 Cathar Christians were burnt at the stake after they had their eyes blinded, their noses and faces mutilated. They were cut off from water and bombarded by trebuchet. There were 80 knights who defended them, and all of them were hanged. In 1219, the massacre of Marmandy saw 7,000 Cathars killed, and then a further 225 were burned in 1244. So I'm going to open up now to a couple pages that talk about Rome's strategy and how exactly the Inquisition executed this terror on the Cathars. So it says here, the church's strategy would combine sophisticated intellectual ability with physical coercion, imprisonment, social manipulation, public shaming, and capital punishment. The Inquisition's technique of cross-referencing and intelligence gathering meant that it was important for inquisitors to get suspects to grass on their families, shock their friends, neighbours, and spiritual mentors. Ratting on others might lead to a sentence being commuted, and could be the difference between long-term imprisonment and merely having to wear the yellow cross. One ex-Cathar supergrass gave up the names of 169 other people during her interrogation. Homes, including cellars and roof spaces and outbuildings, all prime hiding places, could be systematically invaded by the Inquisition. Houses found to harbour heretics could be destroyed. Cathars who confessed their allegiances or who were released after interrogation were made to wear 2 yellow crosses sewn onto their clothes and often forcibly relocated. The yellow cross became the sign of a social pariah, its stigma affecting the social standing of an individual, which was important in the French word Languedoc, some place in France where Cathars were. Cathar perfects went underground if possible, disguising their status by living in un-Cathar-like ways. If they were in towns or cities or hiding in huts in the forest, Cathars were in a constant state of fear and apprehension. So, the biblical canon of the Cathars was made up of all 4 books of the New Testament Gospel, and to a lesser extent the 16 prophets of the Old Testament. They particularly focused on the Gospel of John, and they outright rejected the first 4 books of the Old Testament as they believed that it was the work of Satan. So the Cathars had a very interesting metaphysic where they believed that God and Satan had always coexisted, Satan as God's evil adversary. They believed that when man was tempted by evil and succumbed to Satan, that they fell from heaven, which was the original Garden of Eden, into the fallen earth, which is a mixture of light and darkness. The darkness being the material world, which the Cathars believed to be fashioned by Satan, And then the good being the Holy Spirit, which is of God. And the desire of God is for us to liberate the light from the darkness within ourselves so that we can enter his paradise clean from sin. The Cathars were holy people. They didn't fornicate. They didn't implore the aid of the angels. They rejected water baptism. The only prayer that they said was the Lord's Prayer. They swore no oaths, and they spoke of the firmament, and they spoke of the apocalypse. So as I said before, their biblical canon was the 4 Gospels of the New Testament. So they believed in Jesus Christ. On the other hand, they did not believe in the Roman Catholic Church, to say the least. They referred to the Roman Catholic Church as the Scarlet Whore, the Beast of the Apocalypse of John, the Church of Satan, and they believed that the Pope was the Antichrist. So one of the more controversial beliefs of the Cathars is the belief that Satan created the material world. And to back up this belief, they reference Genesis 1:2, where it said that darkness was upon the face of the earth, and they believe that the principle of darkness is Satan. They believe that the prince of the world, according to John, refers to the devil, and they understand Mammon in Matthew 6:24. Mammon, they believed, meant the maker of the world, which they believed was the devil. And the last reference that they give is Matthew 7:18, where it said that a good tree cannot bring forth evil fruit. And they take this to mean that a good God cannot create an evil world. So the original reason why the Cathars was so interesting to me is I guess I played a little bit with perennialism. And I really like the idea that there are Christians who can believe in reincarnation. And spoiler alert, the Cathars are Christians who believe in reincarnation. So how do they back this up? They back this up with Matthew, where Jesus explains twice that John the Baptist had been the prophet Elijah in a previous life, and also passages from Matthew and Mark where we find Jesus asking his prophets the question, "Who do the people say that I am?" And his prophets tell him that he is John the Baptist, Elijah, Jeremiah, or one of the great prophets who has came back as Jesus. Reincarnation used to be a fact of life for the Jews, the Gnostics, the Manichaeans, and many other cultures from the Old Testament, as it is today for the Native Americans, the Incans, the Mayans, and many Orthodox Jewish groups like the Hasidics and the Shabbatniks. We also know from the early church fathers like Origen that the belief in reincarnation used to be widespread amongst Christians in the first few centuries. Reincarnation has a long history in the West. There's evidence, for example, from Julius Caesar, from Irish myth, that people such as the Celts believed in reincarnation. Plato even promoted the idea of reincarnation in the Republic. It's written about in the writings of Pythagoras, in the Kabbalah, in the Hermetica. 50% of the modern world believe in reincarnation. You got to think about China, India. They all believe in reincarnation, as did William Wordsworth, Ralph Waldo Emerson, Leo Tolstoy, Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, and even the founding fathers of America. So that was the lost teachings of the Cathars. This book, if you're a perennialist, is essential. This is a bridging text between Eastern religion and Christianity. So perennialists, get this book. If you're interested in history, this is a great book. And if you just have a wide set of interests, then you might find this book entertaining. I wasn't planning on doing any ratings, but, you know, why not throw it in? If I had to rate this book, I'd probably give it like a 7, and mostly out of its utility for a perennialist. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like, please subscribe, and I hope everyone has a great day. Thank you.